Today we're gonna talk about the Bettermaker Limiter 2.0. Yo, what's up and welcome back to the channel. I'm super fired up to do a new video here. I've been really missing doing these videos and yeah, I'm just super pumped. So let's get into it. Those who follow me might have seen that I added a Bettermaker Limiter 2.0. Yeah, there's a couple of reviews out there, and yeah, the word that goes around is that it's a really good sounding unit, but it has also one major flaw, and that is the metering. And then especially for the clipping stage, because it's just really unclear. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on that, as I'm actually rarely using it as clipper. So I'm going to show you exactly how I use the Bettermaker 2.0, and yeah, that's a specific EDM mastering approach, because that's what I only do. I only do EDM mixing, mastering and stem mastering. So tracks need to be loud, tracks need to feel dynamic still, but have a lot of impact and a high RMS. And yeah, the Bettermaker is a great unit that allows me to accomplish that. As well, I have the loud limiter, which is really important, and yeah, the Bettermaker and Lao work together for me. So quick overview. I'm sure that if you're researching this unit and if you've typed in Bettermaker 2.0 review because you're planning on buying the unit, then yeah, you're probably already aware of what the unit does. But let me just give my short summary. This is a limiter, a clipper, soft and hard clip, and a saturator. Those 3 things is what the Bettermaker is capable of. Let's quickly touch each of them. Limiting is an extremely good limiter. It has a super fast attack and release time, and yeah, it has mid-side. That's exactly why it's such a winner for me. And I'll talk about that later. Then the clipper has soft clipping and hard clipping. It sounds amazing, but I'm a mastering engineer. I want to know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm doing really small stuff, and in the end that really adds up. So yeah, it can literally be clip 0.3 dBs there, blend in 5% of multiband compression here. Things like that can really in the end add up and create the final master. This is exactly yeah, what is missing in this clipper, because it starts showing the clipping amount when you really push it, but before that it's already doing a lot. Let me show you this picture, and it explains a little bit more what it does and yeah, how the clipping stages are divided. Yet I'm sure that you agree with me on this not being a super straightforward unit, and yeah, that's exactly what makes it difficult to use in a mastering scenario for the clipper, because it's just way too extreme, and yeah, I'm not loving it for that. Then the saturation is really good on this unit, but I rarely use it because it's again very quickly way too extreme. And yeah, if I need specific saturation, I prefer the Cranborn Audio HE2, which does that in an amazing way. Also available in mid-side, or use a really good saturation plugin such as FabFilter Saturn II or Isotope Exciter oversampled. So yeah, that's what this thing does. Next to that, it has metering. I never use that because I use different meters, and yeah, I don't really have the need for measuring RMS and stuff like that. I want to know what's the amount of clipping that it does and what's the amount of limiting that it does, and I want to know that very exactly. Even more specific, I would love to have a delta so you can actually hear what's being done, which I love in Isotope Maximizer and in newfangled Saturate. It's a killer feature for me. It is USB DAW integrated. That's amazing. So for recalls and stuff, you don't need to do those because this unit recalls itself with the plugin. I can see that being really handy if you do want to use the saturation a lot, and if you want to have really specific settings, it would be a nightmare to do the recall. So yeah, it's better to have that in a plugin, of course. So how do I use this limiter? I use this limiter in mid-side. Why? Because I want to have a limiter in my chain that's catching peaks if there is sudden build-up, and this always happens in the mid because that's where the bass is, that's where all the energy is in an EDM mix. Being in mid-side doesn't mean that it's only affecting the mids. It does catch as well the sides if you push it hard, but I never really push it hard. It's more of a safety tool. So for me, if I do 0.5 or 1 dB limiting in the middle at some points in a mastering project, yeah, that's normal. Sometimes it's almost doing nothing, but I just want to have the Bettermaker Limiter 2.0 before my low, so the low gets fed a more constant signal. That's the simple reason why I use the Bettermaker 2.0. So I also had the version 1, and yeah, this thing just sounds way better. I can definitely tell. It has way less noise. It's a super clean, really high-end unit, where the version 1 sounded a bit more dirty, and as well, yeah, that distorted really quickly. So it happened back then when I was pushing mixes and just hearing like nasty distortion and thinking, where is this coming from? And then I ended up just switching off the limiter all the time. And yeah, this thing doesn't have that issue at all. It's really capable of limiting, and if you need a good final limiter, I would definitely advise the Limiter 2.0. But yeah, you just need to be really aware that it's not showing clearly the amount of soft clipping, hard clipping, and hard clipping is technically impossible to show. I understand that because it's like a ceiling that you cannot cross. But for soft clipping, that doesn't apply. It's because the website says clipper metering is active when you have engaged soft clipping. There is no indication on clipping when using just hard clip. This is technically impossible. Limiter 1.0 has soft clipper only, and that's why you see clipping metering right away. Clipper in Limiter 2.0 contains two separate stages. First one is soft clip, and you can think about it as color limiting that brings soft saturation. Very fast transients can pass through it. Hard clip is like a brick wall, nothing can pass it. The thing is that this looks like a really well thought out process. However, if you actually have this unit and you push, and you will hear this in the sound demo, if it's showing clipping, the whole signal is already getting clipped so much. So this thing just doesn't show it clearly. And that's why I don't use it as a clipper, with the exception of when I need it for color. And then I put it at hard clip and I just push it super hard. because it's really capable of that. If you need like insanely high RMS level and lots of like analog color, then definitely it's a great method. But in most masters, it's not how I like to use it. So to summarize how I use it, I have the flock audio so I can route everything how I want it, and the loudness part of the mastering chain is Bettermaker Limiter 2.0, which does mid-side limiting. And keep in mind, when the signal is hitting this point, it already goes to digital clipping for a little bit. It goes through other analog units, so it's already controlled. It's just as a safety measure for sudden buildups, and then it just limits them in mid-side, retaining this the beautiful stereo image, not ducking the sides when it's not needed. Then from the Bettermaker Limiter 2.0, it goes into the low, where my limiter section is actually bypassed pretty much all of the time. I use it for the stereo imager and for the transformers, and to drive the AD clip, because after that I'm clipping the Prism Lyra, and those converters are absolutely killer for dance music. They retain tons of detail, and you can really not go wrong with overloading them. For the ones that know a little bit more about Prism, my overkillers are off. I don't like how they sound, so I just go full into the AD hard clip as the final mastering stage before going into some final digital processing to finalize a master. So now let's have a listen. I'm going over 3 tracks, and first one is a bit more relaxed, second one has a bit more energy, and the third one is more extreme, to show you like different scenarios where you can use this limiter. Then I'll see you after that for my final thoughts. Here we go.
If the energy's right, energy.
So yeah, I'm sure you are aware now of how this thing can sound. It's an absolute beast. It's not easy to use. I think it's overcomplicated with the plugin. It used to be way more simple. But if you forget about all that, this thing is sounding super good. And if you're willing to look past that and see how you can use this limiter in your workflow, then I would say it's a really good choice. That said, I wouldn't mind having it not available in the studio. Right now it does add something for me, but it's not a must-have. And yeah, it's a luxury for me to have all these units. I have all the units here. I have a side rack full of more gear, and I have some decision making that I can do during mastering. So I have the flexibility to use units, but it's just not a must-have. I would rather lose the Bettermaker than the Lal, for example. But yeah, that said, I love having the flexibility and I love having it in there as a mid-side limiter. It works really good for me, especially since I only do dance music. So that's it, the Bettermaker Limiter 2.0. Please let me know in the comments what you think about the unit, if you would want to use the unit in your work, or if you have any questions about the unit. So hope this video helps, and I'll see you in the next one. Yo.